Hello everybody, and here's another warm welcome back to the Incubus channel. Today we are going to be discussing the BODMAS method of resolving fractions. But in my previous videos we have discussed the definition of fractions, the meaning of fractions, examples of fractions, the types of fractions. We've gone ahead to do addition of fractions, subtraction of fractions, multiplication and division of fractions. Now we need to be able to put everything together and discuss the BODMAS method of resolving fractions. Now that brings us to the subject of BODMAS. What is BODMAS? BODMAS is the order or rule that is followed to solve mathematical expressions. The order or rule that is followed to resolve mathematical expressions, and it is spelled BODMAS, and each of those letters has a meaning and we have to follow when resolving fractions. The B stands for brackets, the O stands for off, which of course means multiplication, the D stands for division, the M stands for multiplication, the A stands for addition, and the S stands for subtraction. Those are the sequence we're going to follow to resolve, a bundle of mixed fractions that are, posed onto us as problem. Now, let's take our first example. We want to take our first example on using BODMAS to resolve fractions. So example 1 is, we have in bracket the numbers 30 divided by 5 plus 4 times 2 plus 14. That is, in bracket we have 30 divided by 5 plus 4 times 2 and plus 14. Now, how do we begin? We begin using BODMAS. You look out for the occurrence of a bracket and you resolve the bracket first, since the B is the first thing in the sequence. So in resolving the bracket, that means you're going to resolve 30 divided by 5. That will give us 6. So our line 2 now look like 6 plus 4 times 2 plus 14. That's our second line. There's no occurrence of off, so we move on to multiplication, and there we have it. In the line 6 plus 4 times 2 plus 14, we have 4 times 2, which is multiplication. So we multiply that out to have 8. That brings our next line to 6 plus 8 plus 14. And then you now have what is left is addition. So we'll do all the additions. 6 plus 8 is 14, and 14 plus 14 gives us 28, which is the answer for the first example. Now we'll take on our second example in trying to use the BODMAS method to resolve fractions. Now, coming to our second example of using the BODMAS method to resolve fractions, we're going to have as an example 2 the expression 15 divided by 5 in brackets 8 minus 6 plus 3 close bracket times 5. I will take it again. 15 divided by 5 times, in bracket, 8 minus 6 plus 3 times 5. So we begin our first line by dealing with the brackets, which is the B of the BODMAS. Now, in bracket, we have 8 minus 6 plus 3. Resolving that, well, it's like saying 8 plus 3 minus 6. That will be 11 minus 6, which leaves the answer as 5. That will make our line 2 look like 15 divided by 5 times 5 times 5. The next thing in the sequence is the division. So we deal with the division, which is 15 divided by 5 as our next line. So dividing 15 by 5 will give us 3. That will make our next line look like 3 times 5 and times 5. So the next thing, we have all multiplication. So if you multiply that out, that will give us 15 times 5, which results in 75. There were no additions or subtractions except the ones we had dealt with in the bracket. So that leaves the answer as 75 if you multiply 3 by 5 and by 5 again. So that's our second example of using BODMAS. Let's look at a more detailed example that can give us an idea of how to resolve fractions when they are all put together. So we have, as our third example, we have 36 divided by 6 times 3 minus 2 plus, in bracket, 3 plus 5. I'll take the expression again. 36 divided by 6 times 3 minus 2 plus, open bracket, 3 plus 5, bracket closed. Of course, we'll begin as usual by resolving the items in the bracket, which is 3 plus 5. Dealing with 3 plus 5 in the bracket leaves us as 8, and therefore leaves the expression as 36 divided by 6 times 3 minus 2 plus 8. That's our second line. Now, having said that, the next thing we have to deal is the division. To deal with that division, we will divide 36 by 6. That will give us 6. And that brings our next line to the expression 6 times 3 minus 2 plus 8. That's our third line. Now, to further resolve that, you see we have multiplication in that expression. So we deal with the multiplication, which is the next item in the BODMAS series. That is, we are multiplying 6 by 3, which gives us 18. And that makes our next line of the expression looks like 18 minus 2 plus 8. So we now have both addition and subtraction to deal with. Now, taking on the addition, we will say 18 plus 8 as our next line, which gives us 26. And dealing with the addition, we subtract 2 from 26. And that will be 26 minus 2, and leaves us the answer 24. So those three examples are methods we have used to demonstrate the use of the BODMAS method to resolve fractions. So that brings our discussion on fractions to a close. So please leave behind comments. Let's see whatever issues you could raise that we can discuss. And also don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button to have notification on future presentations.